Jim and I started Metabolic Elite, and I had no idea that his young, very athletic son was going to be part of it. Not that I was like, no chance we're bringing in a young kid. I mean, at the time we wouldn't have brought in a high school kid anyway, obviously. But But how this has evolved, has been, and to see your growth, and it quickly went from being, hey, I want to be a performance coach, I want to be a strength coach, and me saying, do something else, to like, okay, he's really into this. Like he's got the best resource in the world for clinical pharmacology, nutrition, science in his father. And, now he wants to do this. And I'm like, great, and you have you have the best at your age in this profession, at the stage of your career in this profession. You have an amazing group, excluding myself completely, but between Kevin, Ben, Jimmy, and Cal, you have them right at your fingertips, and they're amazing people. And it's your growth and evolution into this business and your role in this business, critical. It's been awesome to see. It only helps us. And our first introduction was yourself as a young athlete, and then a college athlete, and then wanting to get into this, and you being around some amazing strength coaches at Tech and Dave Scholes, and now you're here, so you're stuck here. So you're part of this. You're part of this dream team, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I never really envisioned myself being in any other position than this, though. Mm-hmm. Just growing up around yourself. I think we've always known each other. Through high school, and I know you and my dad were doing stuff with the military and the metabolic mapping courses, and have an amazing relationship. Outside of athletics, though, and human performance, you guys are just good friends, and we always are always talking about, we get along with the Italian heritage, and always messing with, the wine and supersod and the Easter bread and all this. We're always sending each other stuff in the mail when it comes to
it's just not
things
business.
like that. It's not just business. And then I remember the first time I met you was you're with the Sharks. I don't know if I was in high school. No, I think I was in college, because it was here in Dallas. We went to the hotel.
Oh yeah,
we got breakfast together. And we were just talking about where we wanted to go with. I think we were talking about Metabolic Elite at the time, and I think you guys were doing metabolic mapping courses. And I think that was kind of the first time where you were like, wow, this kid actually
gets it,
and wants to be involved with what we're doing and help us out. And I think, like you said, having you guys at my fingertips. And I also do want to give a shout out to my guys at Texas Tech with Tori Stevenson and Bryson Breeding, Tyler Cook, Scott Ramsey, all those guys that Nick Soul and, Jake, all my guys that I did with my GA with at Texas Tech. They have, been extremely influential in developing as a coach. I mean, I'm kind of in a weird position, though, because I love being a strength coach. I love coaching, but I also love, the biochemistry and the nutrients and developing product and, working with athletes. So I'm in a unique role because I love coaching, but I'm not a coach right now. Which is it's kind of hard. It's a hard position to be in because it's like, why should people listen to me? I'm in this group of elite people. Getting to have conversations with yourself and Cal. Obviously, having my dad, that's a little bit different of a story, but having Snides and Kevin and Ben and just being able to have all this information, but I'm not a coach. Right. So why do people listen to me? That's something that I wrestle with. I have a lot of great experience. I mean, I was only a GA for 2 years. I only coached for a couple of years. Yeah, I was an athlete. Got a great, master's degree at Texas Tech. Was, under a great researcher, and his name's Dr. Grant Tinsley. Profound body comp, energy balance researcher in the country. But I don't have a ton of experience, but this has been my entire life. I don't know anything other than optimizing human performance. Right. I don't have a lot of athletes under my name, but, so I think it's just going to be an interesting navigation for me through this with you guys I'm not trying to say I need you guys to back me or anything. Because like we have conversations.
Yeah.
Like I definitely belong in the circle with the knowledge that I have, but it's just interesting. It's an interesting thing for me to deal with as far as, getting on podcasts with you guys and, trying to establish my credibility. You guys have credibility. I don't have any credibility established yet besides being involved with this group and having my dad as my dad and a 2-letter thing after my name, an MS. Yeah.
But
so
I think, the experiences that you have, especially as an athlete, the people you've been around as an athlete and learning from and hearing their coaching, it's still very valuable, and the only thing you have against you is just time. Like we're a lot older than you, like anybody's going to be able to tell that from just watching the video and our hair, or my hair for sure. But, but it's just time, you know, and at this time, what you do have that pulls this team in an unbelievable direction and puts a lot of air in our sails as a company is that you're understanding the biochemistry aspects just by learning from your dad and being a really good student and you're getting your master's is profound. It's strong on the way to only getting stronger.
Yeah.
That's critical. The business aspects of what we're doing right now are critical, and that's your role. The coaching side will come. There'll be time for that. Because you're not running out of time by any means, So it's like I liken it to a party. Everybody loves going to a party, and generally parties turn out to be really fun, And if everybody brings something to the party, then it makes it that much better. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We all bring different tools. You know what I mean? We all bring different experiences, and you're doing just that. And we wouldn't be here. I said this on a different when I was talking to your dad in this setting, and I was like, he's critical to this. The people around us that are helping us move this ship in the right direction and get this thing going are critical. You know, between you and Joey, and so it's great.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think I remember when we kind of threw this on my plate. I was in my last year of my master's, and my dad was like, "Hey, I need you to start doing stuff for Metabolic Elite. Like, we got to get this thing off the ground." So obviously, balancing being a GA, being a research assistant, going to school, and then getting Metabolic Elite thrown on. But it was invaluable because we got that year for me and you to just like really develop. Like, hey, what's our philosophy being going forward? Like, how do we want to evolve this from what we've done in the past? Like, what's our direction? And I think that year of just me and you being able to like really plan, get things dialed in as far as, hey, these are the products that we want to come out with, when we launch, this is the trajectory for the education that we want to do. I think that year was really critical. And then as soon as when I graduated, like we were off and running. It's been since December, we launched in April, but really I would say like December was kind of that inflection point of like, hey, Metabolic's here and we're a force to be reckoned with, and everybody better watch the heck out in the next year. Because we know what we have, the LPT technology, paired with my dad's knowledge, his formulation experience, his knowledge of the pharmacokinetics with being a clinical pharmacist, but also being a clinical nutritionist, and then the 40 years of integrative medicine thrown on top of that. And then the application of what we're doing on the education and the nutrients with you guys. It's like how we implement this into high level performance. And I think we have some really unique formulations that have a really special role, and I think essential role in human performance, whether it's, professional athletes that are having to, perform at the highest level on a daily basis, or if it's a business executive that is having to be on top of everything every single day, has a high amount of stress on his plate, or it's just a normal 9-to-5 person that, is dealing with the same things that everybody,
schedule, kids,
everybody else is.
First responders, servicemen and women. Like everybody can utilize it because everybody is trying to squeeze another drop out of the day, basically, when there's not enough time. You know what I mean? And there's a cost to doing that. There's a cost to doing business with that. And you know, it just so happens that the athletes that we deal with on a daily basis are trying to break records and win games and things like that, you know, and that's their cost. That's what taxes them. But the day-to-day stresses and the grinds and for what we mentioned as roles and responsibilities of people, it's real on them too, that this can help with.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. I think, you know, we have a very unique slew of products right now. You know, we were very targeted in what we wanted to do, because we're calling ourselves, you know, peak precision nutrition and like a beyond foundational.
right.
Because there's a lot of great products out there already. You know, there's great magnesiums, there's great proteins, there's great amino acids, there's already great creatine. There's, you know, there's great products that are on the market. But what we're doing is taking it to that next level and being extremely targeted with our formulations of what we see is missing out there.
Right. And the uniqueness of where the science is, where the evolution of like the delivery that we have in the LPT technology, that for many, many reasons, like it's just not about putting it in your mouth, hopefully that, you know, in a liquid form, but whatever, in this tablet form, it's new science. You know, it's effective science.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, I think that's the intent of all the products, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we have really great ingredients and we have really great formulations, but the LPT technology is what really brings it home, is because we're just getting more out of the nutrient that's in the product because, you know, shrinking those particles down under 100 nanometers, you can get it across that blood-brain barrier. You get it across the cell membrane with ease.
Right.
And they're stable up to, you know, the date of expiration. You know, a lot of the issues that come with other capsulated or liquid formulas get kind of taken out with this process that we have with the LPT technology. You know, there's no heat required in it. A lot of times people don't understand is the heat that's required to making other dietary supplements actually degrades that nutrient. So,
and then you're hoping and you're wishing that everybody you give something from a powder form to a capsular form, a digestible form in their stomach, that they have the best gut microbiome environment to actually maximize the digestion of that and absorption of that. That's not true. 1,000,000%. You know, we have, you know, in my little pocket of athletes, you know, like guys are taking Advil because they got shoulder pain. Guys are, you know, not getting enough, fiber and, you know, and dosing enough glutamine as much as we need to push it and creating that really good environment. Not from enough fermented vegetables, you know, to
be able to
create
utilize
good
what they're
bugs down,
taking.
good bugs down there. And some maybe have leaky gut. Some, you
Majority
know,
have leaky gut.
So like now we're hoping like, okay, we'll hope that this gets absorbed and digested. That's the impact of the LPTs, where you're bypassing that.
Yeah.
You're not forgetting about what's going on in this area, because we're still eating, you know, athletes are still eating food. And we have to make it a really good environment. And that's a key pillar of sports nutritional
100%.
health, you know? So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a key part of it. You know, as soon as you put the LPT in your mouth, you start chewing it up.
Right.
You're getting absorption.
Begins.
Yeah, that's where it begins, and that's, I think, is so, you know, it's going to be game changing. You know, I don't want to give too much of the sauce out, but you know, being able to chew something up, and you know, from, you know, the anecdotal and stuff that we're getting from our physicians and you know, various people that are ordering it from the website, you know, people are noticing these supplements within days of taking them, 2 weeks of taking them. I've been taking stuff my entire life. I always tell people, it's like, I think I was the biggest skeptic going into this whole thing anyway. Because I've taken stuff my entire life, and I, you know, got to the point to where it's like, is this stuff still working? Is it still really like doing something for me? And the blood work shows, yes, it is. But I feel like there's another layer of just, you know, being able to feel it. You know, and I think that's what's really special about what we have in the LPTs is, especially with the synapsin and the curcumin, I think are profound examples of that, where it's like, hey, I chew this thing up and I notice I'm clearer. You know, I'm more present in what I'm trying to do. And then with the curcumin, it's like, wow, that's not bothering me as much as it was before. Or, hey, my recovery time is I'm hammering myself with eccentrics in the gym, and I'm in a really hard hypertrophy block. I need to recover.
Right.
Like those soreness, like the duration of how long I was sore is dramatically decreasing.
Right. Yeah.
That's just on a personal level, but
Right.
we also are hearing that from the physicians that are starting to use it in their professional practice. And we're just really excited to, put these specific products like in where they fit in professional sports.
Right.
Like I think that's something that we should hit on is like, I think each one of our products have a key role in, I say athletics, but I think just a key role in human optimization and performance on a daily basis.
Something, we haven't talked about for a non-athlete.
Yeah.
We have a product, the BPC 157 in a chewable form.
Yeah.
And that peptide commonly is delivered, through injection to receive the most benefit, right? Subcutaneous. But, for a non-athlete, because athletes get tested for peptides, right?
Yeah.
Because of WADA, right?
Yep.
We
100%.
we deal with that. NCAA deals with that, I believe, too. But I've utilized it with, as you said, I'm heavily involved with military performance and a lot in the early 2000s to build a military performance program for U.S. Pararescue at the National Guard level. But even our first responders community, who's deeply rooted in my family history and still have family in police force out east and then firefighters, but those who have had surgery and then use BPC for healing or to promote healing and to promote pain management have off the charts been successful with it. And it avoids it helps to avoid anyone who's gun shy about needles or wants to poke themselves and have injection.
Yeah.
And it's been a successful product in my experience with it.
Well, right now I think even, BPC is interesting because the FDA, you're actually not even allowed to compound it as an injection anymore for clinically. So, there's a lot of stuff out there online where it's like, hey, it's BPC 157, but it's for research use or for lab use in the injection form. Thankfully, you are allowed to use BPC 157 as a dietary supplement, but oral BPC 157 has notoriously not worked. It just doesn't work.
Right.
It gets destroyed in your gut
Yeah.
and your stomach. And what makes this one so special is the LPT, how it's delivered in your body. Is that you're getting majority of it absorbed before it even makes it to your, makes it there. And I think that's one that I was a big skeptic of, honestly.
Yep.
And then I started using it. People started using it. We've sold out of it 4 times already. We have clinics ordering thousands of bottles of it at a time.
Right. When I talk to clinicians who are, naturopaths or even chiropractors, are like, if I can get, patients to want to use it and not have to go, not that they can anymore, through injection, purposes, or to buy a more non-effective on the market oral BPC, I'm gonna go with a better absorbable and effective product.
So
this is, I think we've created that.
It has been honestly overwhelming, the amount of positive feedback we've been getting from it, from health professionals utilizing it in their day-to-day patients. And honestly, pairing that with our Tetracure, the curcumin product that we have, it's taking it to the next level. The Tetracure, I think, is one that I see fitting in extremely well in the collegiate aspect, also in professional, just because, everybody's already using curcumin, but it's one of those nutrients that isn't absorbed very well in your body, so you're having to take ungodly amounts of it, like 300 milligrams in the morning, 300 at lunch, 300 at night. You're having to take a ton of it.
And what comes with that? Pill fatigue, even tracking, you may have to have that pill box with the Monday through Sunday,
or AM, PM, lunch,
So it's easily applied, right? Like you just pop them in, chewing, and you're on the go. It's not like you have to look at that pile of pills, which I think is unique to what we have offering. And And it's exciting to see where else we can go with what kind of nutrients you can put in LPT form.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we have, some ones that make huge impact, but we're only scratching the surface.
100%.
You know,
100%.
It's really cool.
I think, you know, the curcumin, going back to it, I think that's, people are going to they're going to be surprised because when they see the amount that's in it, it's only 100 milligrams.
Right.
But we hope to get to, like, you know, it's very new technology. We've only been out for 4 months. We want to do bioavailability. Mm-hmm. We want to do the clinical trial. We want to get to that point to where we have the data to back it up. But there's something to say with the results that we've been getting just anecdotally and from, you know, people are saying like, man, I've never actually felt curcumin make this much of a difference up until this point. Like, I know my dad has various people that have used every curcumin on the market. Yeah. And they're not turning back. They're not going back. They're like, I'll never take another one. Yeah. So I think that in itself is, you know, you can't disregard that, you know, and such a heavily, you know, science guided or, you know, evidence-based practices. There's something to say for people just getting benefit out of it and feeling the difference. Yeah. And we want to have the science. We want to get to that point to where, hey, we do have the data behind this stuff. Yeah.
That's going to be another piece of where we're going, is that bioavailability studies and how effective it is, because then the proof is in the pudding, right? And, you know, we talked about kind of the evolution of this a little bit, and it went from, you know, utilizing your dad and making and your mom can blame me and your dad can blame me 100% for making his schedule a lot more crazy, you know, in the last 10 years. I think that we've known each other 10 years. But
it's passion.
It went from the education side with coaches in the NHL level to then coaches in the NBA and the NHL, and then into, okay, we got to speak at this event, or you got to go speak at this event, to the point now where then you got to go speak to Naval Special Warfare in Virginia, you know, and then we hit the mapping courses, right? And then mapping was spawned out of me making one work for your dad and saying, hey, why don't we have our own course? You know, like let's do something. I'll take care of everything on the end. We'll host it in San Jose. It was 2016, and I'll reach out to everybody I can, you know. Yeah. And mapping became something of like, teach everybody on your systems biology model. Teach everybody like what metaflammation is. Teach everybody like what anaerobic stress looks like, because we're all training that way.
Allostatic load.
Allostatic load. Yep. Like about the triad system. You know, how do we read labs? You know, like we're not.
The gut immune brain axis now is like the gut brain axis, like the big thing in literature now, and it's like, I remember you talking about that like 20 years ago. You know, which is crazy. I know that you know, and having the triad system like you were getting into. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you know, it's just. So I had to mention that.
And the lab piece and formulating diets for appropriate cases and appropriate, you know, athletes or individuals specifically, like we did lab work. I remember going into the professional sports setting and having lab work done, and nobody talked about it. It's like you look at your high and your low, and if this one's bold, you're out of range. If this one's bold, well, how do I fix it? Well, you know, eat more vegetables. Like, oh, okay, that doesn't help, but you know. So now there's that education amongst the population of performance coaches and nutritionists who are working with athletes every day to kind of really do a deep dive in this. And at the time, I learned about metabolic code, but the only other thing I knew from a blood analysis standpoint for athletes was Inside Tracker. And even that was okay.
Yeah, they're good. It was solid.
It was, you know, they started in the right direction.
Yeah,
you know, it wasn't metabolic code in terms of the depth, but it also wasn't very a highly used clinical tool like the code was. And then from that mapping course, we had dietitians there from every major sport league. We had strength coaches there from every major sport league. We had local naturopathic physicians. We had clinical nutritionists. We had chefs. We had actually had a couple chefs from teams come. Whoa. And then we had a great, and I feel strongly about it, as you know, is like we had a great military presence, and that really kicked it off as they were concurrently building the the performance programming world in the military.
Yeah,
Because the military
they
had
need it
nothing
more.
like that.
They deserve it.
Yeah.
They need that. We want to put our best
Right.
foot forward when it comes to the people that are defending our country.
100%.
And I feel like that has been neglected for so long up until this point. We have a
It's scary to
amazing
think.
relationship with somebody that is doing a very good job of that right now
Yeah.
at SOCOM.
Yeah.
And she's unbelievable.
Yeah. And at the time, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
you were getting a better program was being offered to a Division I athlete. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't have, but our Tier 1 assets weren't getting anything like that.
Nothing.
So which is scary
Yeah.
to think. It's evolved to a much needed evolution. But so it just goes to show you now we had mapping, we did the mapping course, and now it's grown to be Metabolic Elite, where we're sharing the education. We had such a diverse group who attended those courses at your dad. We had 3 of them in San Jose, 16, 17, and 18. Scheduled to do 19, but kind of
COVID
the
and
lights
all
went
that.
out,
Yeah.
and but all of that steam and excitement that we created,
We had a lot of momentum.
worked out to be
Yeah.
great in our favor for Elite, and what's become that, and where the educational piece is going with that.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really cool aspect in that point of we had dietitians, we had chefs. That just shows you how connected this human performance kind of thing really is. And if you want to have a successful program, your nutritionist has to be on the same page as your strength coach. Your chef has to be on the same page as your nutritionist.
Yep.
The head coach has to understand the interconnectedness of each role. The PT has to understand the nutrients that are being given.
Right.
So I think that is an amazing point that Metabolic Elite isn't just for strength coaches.
Right.
This is for everybody that is involved with human performance and getting people to reach that peak performance, nutrition or peak performance in general.
Yeah. To add to it, like, there's many spokes to the wheel.
Yeah.
And another one that your dad even talks about and lectures on is medications that are given from an athletic trainer or a doctor. They may be very well warranted, However, how does that affect the biological model or the at the cellular level for these athletes? How does that affect the gut when you get prescribed 800 milligrams of Advil? Because
drug-induced nutrient
Yeah,
depletions.
right, exactly. So that's
Which
that's
we'll be giving away at our Elite Minds workshop. Yeah.
So,
and then even to go into the drug-induced microbiome disruption too. That's the newer research that my dad's been involved with is, hey, how are these things that or like, PPIs, things like that, how are these affecting the biochemistry, like with the PPI, not as much on the microbiome, but, looking at the drug-induced microbiome disruption, that's one that he's been really passionate about over the last, I would say that's a little bit newer, five-ish years. But, the microbiome's the craze right now.
Right.
And just to know that, hey, something that your trainer or your physician might be giving you might be impacting, why I can't absorb the nutrients that I'm getting out of my food or from my supplements. And then therefore that's leading to this tweak, that tweak, so a lot of people don't go that deep.
No, I know that's what's fun and we're excited to share.
Yeah. So I think, I did want to circle back on the science side of things that we were talking about. I don't want people to think we don't have any science at all. We do electron microscopy. We do electron spectroscopy on our liposomes, on our particle size. Every single liposome is analyzed prior to us putting a product out. So I did want to just preface that and say, hey, we're not just shooting in the dark here. We do have, some solid, data and science on it, but it's not a bioavailability study on that direct product.
Right.
That's more of what I wanted to get at. Other than the synapsin and the curcumin, what's another one of the products that you're really excited for in the professional space?
That immunity is such a big thing in sport, and it's real. Like, it's real that you can have a player out with the flu. You could disrupt an entire training cycle with some sort of sickness that you can pick up, and you can pick it up anywhere. And there's so many different influences between travel and between being at home and your home life and family branching out into their other germ pools and then bringing it back to the home and now you're exposed to it, so you
the
can
facility's a cesspool of germs.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. So it's, you have to really be on guard of that. Like it can slow things down. It could cause injury even if they're not out with sickness and symptoms and things like that. So that Veraxol and glutathione can be a really good prophylactic against that, a barrier against it, and then allow you to continue to train hard or practice and play hard when, training at those levels, those high levels can compromise your immunity or make you more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I think that's something, how we weave it into, and I've talked to coaches about it and how to apply it. And it's very much should be on their radar as a daily foundational supplement that you're giving your athletes. If you're giving them D, you're giving them that, you're finding the TetraCure would be another one,
or
right?
Magicare, another one you throw in the immunomodulator.
Yep.
Great for keeping that immune system primed.
Yep.
Year round.
Conditioning follows us everywhere in the sports world, some form of facet. The kyolic for heart health and support. Yeah. Most certainly, it's your most important muscle next to your brain, if you will. So maybe that's 1 and 2 and 1A and 1B, or 1A.
I was gonna say, I think
1A and A.
1A.
Yeah, you can't. They're interchangeable, but they're not. Yeah. They're not separable.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Those are the things like that support like how the sport world goes and the athlete world goes. But again, all these products, we can erase athlete and put anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone with high stress.
I think the Veraxol is going to be an interesting one on a couple fronts. Yes, the immune system, it's a great defense to whatever vector is being put on the body. But also the research that is on Tovigo and EGCG for body composition and metabolism regulation is profound. And I think we're actually adjusting our Veraxol to a 60 count, just because very rarely are people just going to be taking one a day.
Right.
So we're bumping that tablet count up because we want people to be able to utilize it for things other than the immune system. Like, you can use it to supplement a body composition change. It's just that, kind of extra layer of support for, a body comp change that needs to happen, or honestly, just general metabolism on a day-to-day. That's where I see people doing the one a day, or, they're going through a hard training cycle where they're pushing really hard. Paris Olympics started today.
Right. I'm traveling.
How many people in the Olympic setting get hit with a bug right before they compete, or like takes them out a few months prior, then they can't go.
Right.
So having something like a Magicare or a Veraxol on board for those last couple months of the training cycle where you're really compromised, or where you're traveling, I think is going to be a huge benefit to high performers.
I think on our product line, to wrap up, when we've been pushing really hard on our LPTs because we're excited about that technology and delivery, and it's an N of one in the industry, right? But our performance line, with the way we formulated our protein to be non-allergenic,
that's going to be a big one,
and the certain profile of the watermelon seed and pumpkin seed, the profile of the amino acids and the additional amino acids in there, it becomes the strongest protein on the market, because you won't have any allergenic effect, and you can use it for tissue growth. You can use it for just simple recovery, meal replacement, whatever you want. You know, and I think that while it's a foundational, easy product that's on the market, it's also formulated in a specific way that it's going to have a big impact.
Yeah, it is niche still.
Yeah.
Because of that, with the hemp protein and the watermelon seed, pumpkin seed, full spectrum amino acids, MCTs, and also the Solnol in there as the prebiotic, resistant starch kind of combo. It's going to be a game changer for a lot of athletes that are like, man, I don't really take protein anymore because it just jacks my stomach up.
Right.
You know, and it's, you know, all that, you know, stevia sweetened, all the good stuff and none of the bad kind of
Right.
thing.
Right. So
But
it's
I think people are in for a treat when they start to see,
yeah.
you know, we do have traditional supplements as well in a capsule, but it's because they work. My dad's been using them for a long time.
Right.
Some of the formulations are time tested,
Yep.
and they're just good.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised with the performance line, and then our LPT line.
Right.
It's going to be something that's really special.
Personally too, I'm excited for that performance line and how we educate utilizing it. You know, how we educate utilizing Navitas, which is a cordyceps product and rhodiola product that is going to help support your metabolic anaerobic metabolism, right?
Yeah.
Aerobic and anaerobic metabolism. So we have some cool stuff coming
Yeah.
online. Like, we're not just one trick pony with the chewable, the
Yeah.
LPTs. So
Yeah.
it's going to be fun.
No, I'm glad we got to dive into
Yeah.
some of this today.
Yeah.
I think hearing this, having everybody be able to hear some of this is really valuable to understand who we are as a company, and as Metabolic Elite continues to evolve and grow. I want to let everybody know, let the people know that are taking our products already, or the people that are kind of on the fence about taking it, that we are going to have a prolific third-party certification called BSCG, Certified Drug Free, starting in September. I think everybody out there now is aware of third-party certifications on their supplements, and we know that this is a critical step to the growth of Metabolic Elite, and we just wanted to make sure to announce that we will have BSCG certified drug-free. If you haven't done your homework on BSCG, please do. Their story is unbelievable. Dr. Catlin and then his son, Oliver, have built something really special there. And I really encourage people to look into BSCG and their company. And then we are going to be getting their sport level certification, which is the certified drug free. And I just wanted to hit a couple things on them real quick. Mike, you know, you have a great relationship with Catlin. You know, they test for 300 banned substances. And then on top of that, they also test for 200 pharmaceutical agents that could possibly be in there as well. And their process, how diligent they are on every step, from the manufacturing audit portion to the raw ingredient testing to the final product testing. I'm going through it right now, having to fill out the endless amount of forms, but I couldn't feel more strongly about BSCG and the hands that our products are in to be analyzed and evaluated by the best in the business.
They do an amazing job, like you noted, for coaches, for trainers, for anybody who is in the business of managing your client's health. You know, it's a extremely strong, if not the best certification to have. Like, it doesn't just stop at banned substances for sport. No, I mean, they're covering mold exposure. They're covering quality standards of how that actual raw material has been handled, you know, from a purity standpoint. That's important. And I think that's at the forefront of what we do on a daily basis. We want to give our athletes, clients, friends, and family a product that's safe. And, you know, even going before that, you know, if I'm looking at Metabolic Elite and I'm a consumer online, it's like, okay, well, what do you guys have now? Like, this is coming and this is exciting, but what's out there now? Like, what are you guys doing now for your products? And I think everybody should know that each facility is a GMP, a good manufacturing process certified facility that handles product in a very specific way, in a safe way. One of the facilities is a NSF certified facility, which has facility standards around it, and that's critical. So it adds another layer for us, another layer that brings the quality of our product even higher. And there's no better person, I think, than to deal with it is Oliver Catlin. And Oliver's father, Dr. Catlin, was one of the founding members of the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, and that means a lot. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to our athletes in a world that they can pop for something, and tainted supplements exist more than we all think. You know, someone who creates a batch in a facility that's tainted has it produced, and then the next person in line whose products is going in there for whatever it is could have some residual of that, and that's how things happen, you know?
For sure.
So it's important to us to get to this level of quality and separate ourselves from other companies out there that don't.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it a little bit, but they even look into our suppliers of who is giving us our raw ingredients, making sure that they are reputable suppliers. Also, right now, talking about what we have right now on the LPTs, we do in-house, like third-party and in-house assays on every raw ingredient, you know, looking at the microbes, doing the things that are needed. But to have, you know, BSCG coming on board, you know, we do in-house qualitative, and then we do third-party quantitative currently with reputable other lab analysis already. But, you know, getting that BSCG on board and being able to put that stamp on our website and being able to put that stamp on our bottles, I think is going to be, you know, just a peace of mind for the consumer.
Right.
Not that what we do now is unsafe. None of that.
Right.
Because I think a lot of the people on our board have very, you know, substantial roles and where they're at. And, you know, my dad being chief science officer of Lifetime, none of you guys would put your faces on a brand if you thought there was any sort of shadiness going on the background.
Yeah,
so
absolutely
I think just having you guys involved can have a little bit of that peace of mind for the consumer. It's like, okay, these guys are involved, so obviously they wouldn't be involved with something that's not doing things the right way.
For sure.
But to just have that stamp is just going to be that extra layer of
confidence.
Yeah.